It was more than just a dream. He knew he was going to play professional football. Despite his family being homeless for a while, despite being ridiculed for dreaming, and despite being rejected by the first college he tried out for, he never lost focus of that dream. From penniless and homeless as a child, to Outland Trophy winner, to first-round draft pick, to Super Bowl champion, that is Jason Buck. This is Legends. When you decided you were going to play football, was this at an early age? Because it sounds like you were kind of destined for this a little bit.
You know what? I was 24 inches long and 9 pounds, 13 ounces.
Your poor mom.
And mom said not an ounce of fat on me. I was just a big kid. I found this love for football at 4 or 5 years old. And when I'd hear stories, I would just literally, internalize them and love them. I remember mom telling me stories about Jim Thorpe, the greatest athlete in the world, and how he had run to school 20 miles without his shoes. And so I'd head out the door and get behind Dad's tractor, and I'd just run through the plowed field for hours. I just knew. I knew I was going to play professional football.
You ever added up how much weight you've actually thrown around a gym?
I never have.
I mean, it's got to be like, Atlas with the world on his shoulder.
It would be close.
About that?
About that. I'd spend so much time in the weight room, the weight coaches would throw me out.
I think they've got an Atlas machine over here. Let's start right at the beginning. You growing up on a farm, tell me what that was like.
It was a dream world for a little boy. I loved it. It's still a part of my life. I wish I could, keep my children and family around a farm for the rest of my days on this earth.
You were about 6 years old when life changed for you there on the farm?
Yeah. Dad had been recruited to go to Michigan with Ida to farm potatoes, and we were in western Michigan and farmed for 3 years there. Every family that went out there lost everything they had. And I still remember standing on the edge of the front yard with my father and watching the equipment get loaded up and the bankers come and take our equipment. And my father turned and looked at me and say, Jason, you be strong. I didn't realize how bad it was until, we were getting ready for Christmas, my third grade year of school. And you're exchanging gifts at school. I went home to Mom and said, hey, we're putting, gifts under the tree at school, and I need to give a gift to, I still remember the kid's name, it was Scotty. Mom says, well, we don't have any money for gifts, so why don't we take your crayons and I'll wrap those and you can take them. It's the day where everybody's opening up the gifts right before Christmas break. And, there's all these nice gifts rolling out, right? All of a sudden, this kid gets to this gift from me, Scotty, and he opens it up and he's like, crayons? Used crayons? What the heck is this? And the whole class starts laughing and everything. I just remember how embarrassed I was, and I didn't realize, what that meant as much until, that moment.
When we lost the farm out in Michigan, I think that, of course, that hurt him really bad. That's one of those pivotal moments that you didn't want to hear about it. I think he saw that, and I think it hurt deeply enough that he was not going to let anything stop him.
He had these things to overcome and adversities, mainly conflicts with people, and it might have been a little harder for him because we moved so much. Moved to Adrian.
In Adrian, he was persecuted by his teammates. They resented him because he came in as a junior. He was in junior high playing high school football, and the guys resented that. And he told me the other day, he said, as long as I had my family, it was all right.
So you guys eventually make the move out to Idaho.
We go back to this little 40-acre farm. It was just dirt that we were clearing sagebrush and slept under the truck. We had no home.
So you guys were essentially homeless for a while.
Yeah, you didn't call it that then.
Yeah.
And honestly, as long as I had my father, my mother, brother, and sisters around me, I was like, hey, we're a family. We're tough. We're pioneers. We can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just made do. And we threw up an A-frame, a 2-story structure. We were able to sleep on just hardwood planks for a couple months. you'd go to this new school and you're just constantly ridiculed and made fun of because, well, I had a Michigan accent and we're Mormon. And it was a very anti-Mormon community. My older brother and I would work out together. We'd go watch a Bruce Lee movie, and then we'd go back in the barn and practice isometrics and shadow boxing and, you know, just make stuff up, right? You know, and Sid, my brother, would always pat me on the back and say, Jace, you're gonna make it. And I said, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make it. The first time I was able to put pads on was in 7th grade.
Do you remember that moment?
Yeah. You know what? I remember signing up. We had gotten a trailer house, a little single-wide trailer house we were able to put on the farm. And I came home and told Mom and Dad, there's sign-ups at school, I'm gonna play football. And my mom said, no, Jason is not gonna play football. And I said, nobody in this world will ever stop me from playing football. I'll run away from home. I'll take care of myself. I'll provide for myself, and I'll play football. And my dad just sat there and smiled. And you know, says, honey, let the boy play football.
So what was high school football like for you?
Oh, it was torture. You know, every hazing trick you could think of, they did it. Because back then, nobody did anything about it.
Yeah.
And you look at that, you know, man, you could quit and point the finger of blame at everybody in the world and say, you know, I'm not getting a fair chance. The coach doesn't help me. The players hate me. You know, everybody's against me. Things are hard at home. And I would just go in and fight. I just didn't know any other way because the other option was just, you know, quit and give up.
When you were 15, you lost your brother. What was that like for you?
You know, to this day, it's still hard to talk about, but you know, he was that big brother that was just always ready to sacrifice everything for the family. And we did everything together.
Yeah.
And I was just old enough to hang on to Sid's coattails all his life. He dropped out of high school, too, when my dad was injured and was disabled and couldn't work. And so the first thing Sid does is drop out of high school to work a job to help support the family. I slept on the front floor of the trailer house at that time when I was 15 years old. And it was in my sophomore year, and we heard a knock on the door. It was about 2 feet from me, about from here to you, roughly. And I just, boy, it was one of those things where, you know, you just had that sinking feeling. I knew something was wrong. And there was a sheriff there at the door and told my dad that my brother had been killed in a car accident. And I just laid there on the floor, numb, crying, and listening to the cries of my mother in the room next door and the cries of my sisters down the hall. And I went through all those thoughts of giving up and quitting and why me. And I knew that Sid, my brother, would want me to just go on. And that's what I did. I just came out of it redoubling my efforts.
All right, Jason, we got a little agility test here. We got the sled, we got whatever those things are called on the ground. And we'll just time each other. When you cross the line here, time will stop.
It'd be better if you gave me a live quarterback at the end. That would incentivize me.
We're kind of on a budget. All we can afford is a producer, but as soon as he heard that, he ran.
Hey, Scott! Oh, okay.
No, he's gone. I'll just let you go ahead and start, and I'll yell, what do you want me to yell? Like, ready, set,
Yeah, just
go?
set, hit.
Set, hit. Okay.
Set, hit.
Ready, set, hit! All right. Okay. That scared me a little bit. 8 seconds is not bad. Okay. If you want, I'll put this back myself.
All right, better reset that.
Are you pulling?
There we go. Set, hit!
This is heavy. Ooh, heavens.
Good, looking good.
Oh, okay, that one. Okay.
Boy, that was close.
What was that? What'd I get?
Like 9.1.
What? Are you serious? My shoe came off. You did some moves over here that, what were the snap, crackle, pop thing? What was that?
Well, you got to make a quick, decisive move on an offensive tackle and fake him, get him sold that you're going upfield, so he oversets and then club rip underneath.
Club rip. Show me that really quick. How do you club rip it?
The time came then when his parents were divorced, and that was really hard.
You know, my mom came up into my bedroom and told me that she was divorcing Dad. That was just another, another huge blow in my life.
That was the one thing that was really, really hard for him. He came over to my house after he found that out and, was very upset, shed some tears.
Even though it was always rocky and all the hardships and the hard times and there's talk of it, it's still, divorce it was hard to go through almost as much as the death of my brother.
So you walk on at Rick's and you start playing there.
I went to the coach and I said, I know I can play college football. Get me a meeting with the coaches at Rick's. So the high school coach gets me an appointment with Ron Hahn and Ken Schmidt down at Rick's College. And I sat there with those two coaches and said, I'm good enough to play football for you. I want a scholarship. Well, you're a big, strong young man, we'll let you walk on. And I showed up as a quarterback, and I was faster than any other quarterbacks. And Coach Hahn comes up to me and says, Buck, you don't have what it takes to play quarterback for us. You have the potential to be a professional defensive lineman. You could play in the NFL. And I was like, that's the first time anybody has said anything nice to me ever in football, right? Yeah. So I said, okay, I'll play D-line. But after 2 weeks of football, I went to Coach Schmidt, the head coach at the time, and said, I don't have a dime in my name. I need a scholarship. He goes, well, we don't have any money or any scholarships available for you. I said, well, I'm gonna have to quit the team. But now I know what I'm gonna do. And I'm gonna go back and work a job, and I'm gonna come back and play.
He decided to drop out of school, or not go to school actually, and got married and started working at Trost Seed and Feed, throwing 50-pound bags of seed for 8 hours a day. And
so he came back to that seed plant and worked hard, worked long hours. We worked 6 days a week and we worked a lot of overtime hours.
We didn't have furniture. We were sleeping on the floor, eating on the floor, didn't have a whole lot of food. Jason actually was losing weight because we just didn't have the money for groceries.
But yet, even through all of that, he knew what he wanted, and he knew that there was going to be some way that he would get it done.
Jason and I met on a basketball court before I ever knew he was a football player. I'd just moved to Rexburg, first year here in the off-season, playing a county rec basketball game.
I'm playing a city league game, and I'm against this guy that's 6'1" probably. But he's, trying to draw fouls on me and body checking me every time down the court, and I'm getting ticked. I mean, I got a hot temper when I'm playing.
Yeah, it was battle back and forth, and I was a little quick guy that tried to box him out and be in his way all the time, and he just wanted to go to the hole, and he was big and strong and athletic and able to do that.
Anyways, we get done this game, and this guy comes up to me and says, hey, what's your name? I'm saying Jason Buck. And he's like, well, I'm Dave Walker, and da-da-da. Nice to meet you. And he walks off, and Roxy comes down to me out of the stands, right, and chews me out for being mean in the game.
The next day, I went into Coach Hahn, the head football coach's office, and talked to him about Jason Buck. I thought this kid was somebody that we ought to get to come play, and he says, in fact, Jason's coming to visit with me this afternoon, is what he said.
I said, Coach, I'm here to talk to you about a scholarship to come back and play. I've worked, I've trained, I'm bigger, I'm 30 pounds heavier, I'm ready to come play for you. And all of a sudden, the door opens. And he goes, Jason, I want you to meet the defensive coordinator. Jason was sitting in there, and I poked my head in and said hi, and I turned and looked, and it's this guy. And my heart just sunk. Jason's words to me were, I saw my football career go out the window thinking about the game the night before, but it was actually opposite that, because I'd had such a good impression of his competitiveness and athleticism that I was thrilled to have him coming out for the football teams.
Coming out of high school, nobody knew who he was. I think he even walked on at Rick's College or at Rexburg. At Rick's, and but by the time he left 2 years later, every school in the country were trying to recruit him.
They sent me out to see Jason when he was at junior college, and I thought, crying out loud, where I wasn't really strong, I got really strong, big time in a hurry, watching him practice, perform, and then, of course, when he played.
He wanted to be better every day, and that's what he did.
He was very, very active and dedicated. His attitude and his how he worked, how hard he worked, and we never had 1 minute's question or problem with attitude, never.
Actually, a real interesting story. He came down to a game against CEU, College of Eastern Utah, where he was doing a lot of bull rushing and trying to just run over top of people, and he was really frustrated. And in this game, he came to me and says, "Coach, I don't know what to do. I can't get by this guy." I says, "Well, why don't you try to run past him instead of run through him?" And just the thought clicked in his head, and he went out on the next play. He put a quick swim move on the guy and sacked the quarterback, and he went on that game to have 7 sacks. And I remember very clearly when he came off the field, I congratulated him on a great game, and I said, "Just remember me when you go to the NFL."
He just literally made himself to become what he did. Now was, of course, an All-American Outland Trophy winner and a professional football player.
Why did you pick BYU?
You know, it was really close. Ohio State, Alabama, Texas, you name it. They were in Rexburg rolling out the red carpet. I said, hey, I want to play professional football. I want to go to the team that's going to help me get to the NFL. I want to go where they win the Outland Trophy and the Lombardi Trophy. And BYU is always kind of like, well, the Mormon kid from Riggs, they'll come here. And the night before I signed, Ken Schmidt called me and said, Jason, you know where you're going to go. Let me, tell me where you're going to go. I told him I was going to sign at the University of Texas. The next morning I woke up, I knew without a shadow of a doubt, it was one of those very clear messages, I'm going to BYU. And so I called BYU back up that next day and said, I'm coming. Every decision that Roxy and I have made in our lives since the day we got done with football were all about the family first. So I've always chosen career choices and business interests that would keep me closer to my family.
This is a great day. I'm part of the ownership group, the Utah Blaze. This is our last home game heading into the playoffs. I'm just going into hobnob with the coaches, some friends, and hang out at the game with my family. What's that? That's Super Bowl 26. Yeah.
I've always just stayed very involved in football, whether I was coaching my boys all the way through high school or doing sports analyst work with the local networks, working with the Blaze, in their PR and the ownership group and arena football. We've loved our time with the Blaze and the organization, and it's, keeps us around the players and the excitement of football, and it's, it's a big part of our lives. We have football almost year-round at my home. So we have a lot of fun with it. It's still a huge part of our home. Both my oldest boy went on to play college football, and my youngest boy is, a senior going on. He'll play college ball somewhere, and he wants to play pro football. So it'll be fun to see if they can do it. March 24th looks good, and I'll be happy to do your convention. I really enjoy, public speaking. I've always loved touching people's lives and motivating them to become better, and that's been a real great experience for me. I mean, speaking all over the United States. We're a very, very close family. When Roxy and I go on our dates, our children are like, well, we want to go with you. Our dates are with our kids, our activities are with our kids, always supporting them in their pursuits, whether it's the girls or the boys, and football and sports, and we've just really had a great time. So as kids move out, boy, that's really hard on us. Try to stay in good shape so we can stay up with the kids, and I'm still good for a one-round fight.
Tell me about the Outland Trophy, how that all came about, and what that was like for you.
I came down here wanting to win the Outland Trophy, and I still remember being right out here on the practice field, and it's almost straight out from us where it happened. I remember standing there with Sean Knight and Dave Futrell, the other D linemen. Marion Dunn came walking up to me and said, Jason, I want you to know that you've won the Outland Trophy. And I just stood there, just tears in my eyes, thinking through my entire life, sleeping under the truck and bathing in the watering troughs and being spit on and hated, and here you are named the best down lineman in the United States of America. What a dream come true, and what a moment. The draft day, it was so exciting. Here you are finally at this moment. I can remember clear back that 4 and 5 years old in Michigan, you know, telling everybody I'm going to play pro football. Now I'm there and I'm projected first round. I mean, everything's just coming together so good. We're there that day, and I ended up going the 17th player picked overall in the draft to Cincinnati Bengals.
When Jason was drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals, I turned to Jason and I said, "Where the heck is Cincinnati?"
First year at the Washington Redskins, we win it all, and I come out Super Bowl 26, and I have most of my family there. My father and mother there. I flew them out. Roxy's family's there. Roxy's up in the stands with my 2 oldest children. I'm looking up at my family, my wife and my father and mother and everybody, and it's just such an emotional experience because everything that life means to that moment. That here I am, you know, in another Super Bowl. All the sacrifice and the work that went into it, you can't even feel yourself. It is just such a moment.
I think even still to this day, he'll share some stories with me that I haven't heard, and every time I hear one, I'm just shocked and blown away at what he had to go through.
When I first met him, he'd tell me stories about living under a truck. That was his home, that was the roof over his head, was a bed of a truck, and he wanted to be better than that.
He has a little bit of a Sir Lancelot attitude. It's c'est moi, I can do it.
Jason, it's great to be able to talk about you. I have great respect for you. I always did. And I realize the challenges that you have faced in your life and the way you've performed, and I think that's tremendous.
Jason, I want you to know that I am proud of you. I will never find anybody in my whole life that was as positive as you were, was as great an influence on youth and on my own family as what you have been.
I'm just proud to have you as my son. And hope we get to do more things together, of course. Spend more time together as a family, and I hope you keep the goal of excelling and doing constructive and good things throughout your life.
I appreciate how not a day goes by that you tell me how much you love me, that you tell me how beautiful I am, and I know that you can accomplish anything you want in your life, and know that I will love you forever.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's hard to watch. You know, those are obviously, you know, many of the most special people in my life. And went through a lot of this with me. And it's so hard to process it in the end, you know, and all we have is our relationships. We don't get to take a U-Haul with us to heaven, and those are the most precious things I could ever have.
Well, Jason, it's rare that I get a chance to feel like I've become a better person just by sitting down and talking to somebody, but thank you so much for spending some time today. It's been great.
It's an inside rip, but you got to set it up right. And club and rip. And the key on this rip is you get your hip down low and your arm underneath his armpit. And once you get hip to hip on him, you got him beat. You get in here and you lean back on him, so you keep the quarterback in relationship inside, and hit through him and drive him down into the pocket.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna come this way, hit, club, rip, on him. Like that, just about like that, right?
It's a lot harder than people think.
Ready, set, hit.
So
yeah, that was 7.1. 7.1.
You ready, big guy? Set, hit.
Oh, come on, go faster than.
Good.
That's much harder. All right. Okay.
You're at the exact same time I had you last time. 9.1.
Dang it. Well, Jason, this was great.
It was great.
It was really fun. Is there a place to put ice on us?
Yeah.
Show me where that is.
Now we get the Well, the quarterbacks always get to the masseuse first,